of the Agricultural Advisory Board to order at 6 o'clock. We could start with a moment of silence, and then if Ms. Alexander, you could lead us in a prayer.
If y'all would, bow your heads, pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we have been able to come together for the Agricultural Advisory Board. I pray, God, that you be with us during this meeting and help us, Lord, to make the right decisions for Oconee County residents and for our farmers in Oconee County. Lord, we ask you to give us wisdom and knowledge to do what is your will during this time. Lord, we thank you for all that you have done for us and for keeping us safe and for keeping our county safe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to approve the minutes from our meeting in June. Do I have a motion to approve? Has everyone had a chance to look them over?
Make a motion.
Mr. Whiten made a motion and Ms. Alexander seconded. We have a vote. Everybody in favor? Aye. Okay, so our main objective for this evening is to proofread, edit, and finalize our letter to County Council for the council meeting, which is tomorrow. It's a public hearing, and this is regarding the Oconee Conservation Bank amendments that they have proposed. And this is the last night, tomorrow is the last night for these amendment, what are they called?
So the public, so they will vote on it tomorrow.
Officially,
Or is the
final vote.
The third one.
Third and final vote is tomorrow. And so, is everyone familiar with the amendments that have been proposed? We discussed them in the last meeting, the conservation.
I was out, so I'm not.
So, just to be brief, they've added a lot of language to the ordinance, opening up money in the conservation bank that could be used for maybe building docks at public parks, or drilling private wells, or what are some of the other ones? There was a cleanup, funding for street cleanup opportunities,
Pollinator gardens.
small pollinator gardens, and making the ordinance a lot broader than it originally was. So the original ordinance was more focused towards permanent conservation of ecologically significant land. And so these amendments would just broaden the scope so much that we wouldn't necessarily be seeing as much money going into permanent conservation. Is everyone okay with me just starting? I'll just read out the letter since it's going to be read out loud anyway. I'm reading it tomorrow for the board or for county council. And there are a few things I think we need to fact check, make sure they're correct. And if you all have any thoughts or want to change some of the wording, this is very open to edits. Rex is not here tonight. He got a chance to look it over. He gave me his edits. So I'm just going to start. Members of the board, The Agricultural Advisory Board has conducted public meetings in every district of the county, twice in each district over a period of 2 years. In these meetings, we heard the concerns of our farmers, and one of the concerns that we heard over and over again was critical loss of agricultural land to development. According to the 2022 USDA census, agribusiness contributed $192,869,000 to Oconee County in agricultural products sold, making it a significant industry for Oconee. The original purpose of the Conservation Bank was clear about, so maybe this is the part that we need to address, to make sure what the original
Do we
wording
have
in the
that
Conservation Bank.
ordinance, if we can find it, that started the bank? 'Cause
It's, you can pull it up on the county, the original,
Say that one more
I think I
time.
have the original,
I was looking to see, I was looking for a pen.
do you have the ordinance, the new, like the amendments to, that they've proposed? Because, like their backup materials from the county council meetings,
I can pull it.
it shows the updated amendments as well as the original wording. So we'll come back to that about because as the advisory board, we have to be really we have to be really accurate, obviously, so that they can't say anything about it. Okay, next paragraph, and let's be clear. Putting land into conservation does not eliminate a farmer's ability to use the land. In fact, many farmers who have put their farms into conservation would argue that it has helped their operation. They are often paid for the elimination of the commercial development rights to the land, which gives them cash to expand current operations on the farm, running their operation just as they would had they not put their land into conservation. Furthermore, property tax is slower to rise without the commercial development potential on the land, meaning that a farmer has less financial stress from year to year, all while still running the agricultural operation as they would have had they not put their land into conservation. Landowners can tailor their conservation easement to their future dreams as well, for example, cutting out parcels of land for their kids to build houses in the future should they choose to. An easement is not a one-size-fits-all deal. The primary purpose of the conservation easement is to keep commercial developers from using ecologically significant land to make a quick buck. I think we're going to take out this piece about the task force for time, mostly. So deleting the agricultural task force recommendations. And then the mission statement on the county's webpage says, quote, "It is the mission of Oconee County to provide our current and future citizens and visitors quality services while protecting our communities, heritage, environment, and natural resources," end quote. The vision statement includes the wording, quote, "guided by rural traditions and shaped by natural beauty," end quote. We need to live up to our promises. The proposed amendments to the use of bank funds are broad, many of which are non-permanent projects that explicitly do not follow the criteria for the funds allocated by Duke Energy. This is the
I think
portion where we
that's-
need to make it less pinpointed.
Yeah, I think that is the issue that maybe could be not factual, because it actually states for conservation activities. And everything that is in the, while not permanent, while maybe not the original idea, it's still conservation, if that makes sense. So
Drilling a well.
if the well, if that well is, for cattle because you don't have, and you're fencing them out of streams, then yeah, you're helping you're helping conserve,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
If we're fencing out of streams, if we're keeping that stream water clean and we're drilling wells, then yes, that's what it's for. That is part of conservation. And NRCS has a program for that. They also have a program for the pollinator gardens.
Am I correct that there was not a bunch of restrictions when this first understanding was
That's
adopted?
why I asked for them to pull that up.
Yeah.
I think that ordinance.
Yeah, we need to find out what the original Conservation Bank ordinance is, so
And
that we
what-
can be sure that we're correct about it.
And what Duke Energy said,
And
because
then,
it said it
yeah.
was used for that. And they gave that money in 2013, after the relicensing agreement, 600 and, I don't know, do we have it?
Yes.
I don't speak out of turn, I believe I
So
know.
what you're looking
Make
at
the fence
here
off the
is
strings anymore, do they, any ponds?
the amended backup from
Did they-
the, that's for tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Did you come up from the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Either a conservation easement or fee simple title, and by supporting other voluntary conservation projects that preserve or enhance such resources consistent with the criteria set forth. So the criteria set forth in section 2403
Where is 243?
Okay, so this is the environmental, this is just criteria for the land that's being protected. So far, I don't see activities.
So that might be,
This is all like land trust
Yeah, that's.
criteria.
Where is,
Eligible conservation activities, habitat restoration projects. Okay,
But what does it say, what's that two right there, water quality?
water
improvement?
quality, so this is for stream beds, rivers, erosion control, so funding for improving your groundwater. Okay, and then
That's for timber also.
there you have your timber, agriculture, and forestry best practices, so you can still perform agriculture on the conserved land. This all sounds permanent to me. This sounds more permanent than, okay, public access.
public access was one of the things that was in the FERC plan, but I thought Duke was supposed, so is this in the?
This is the original, isn't it?
This is.
They had highlighted in red the new one.
So this is
This
the
is
original?
This
No?
says an ordinance amending.
so this is what will be presented before council tomorrow
Okay,
as their backup.
okay. That didn't say anything about wells. Okay. Oh, here's the sustainable private water infrastructure. So this is the amendments to it. And that the public access one is what was a large concern for people as well, because you can do boat landings, fishing piers, picnic areas, campgrounds, which is counterintuitive to conservation. we want that, but we don't want necessarily conservation bank funds being used for that.
Number 7 talks about the well.
Yeah, and
So avoiding
Where water's not
unnecessary
accessible.
municipal expansion. It doesn't say anything about the wells being drilled for preventing cattle or livestock from getting into rivers.
I remember one a few years back. They come to me about wanting me to put some of my livestock 300 feet away from a creek or something and pump water, and I had to pay for all of that. They was encouraging me to do that, and it was, gosh, who was it doing that?
Was it NRCS?
I can't remember. They was coming to my father at the time. I'm trying to remember who it was. It may have been. I apologize, I don't know right off, but I don't know if they're still encouraging that or not.
NRCS does programming to where you can get money back for doing what you just talked about. So there is program money for getting cows away from stream beds. That is through NRCS.
but that is not what this is for?
But this says for drilling wells to prevent primarily serve properties in unincorporated rural areas where public water service is not available.
I know it can happen because I've been denied water from the city of Walhalla just a couple
And
of
there
months ago.
needs to be funding for that, for sure. The question is, does the funding need to come from the Conservation Bank, or does it need to come from a different entity?
And so if we're gonna make that suggestion, I guess my question is, where would we suggest funding come from? Because some people can't afford to drill a well, so how do we, I guess, looking at it from, say, a young couple trying to have a few acres and trying to get started, how do we make a if this was their lifeline and they were hoping this passed, I don't know, I'm just speaking hypothetically. And then we recommend they don't approve this, then how are they supposed to ever be able to? I mean, I get where this is coming from.
I think the focus is that this is Conservation Bank money that is being donated by people who understand that their money is going towards a certain thing.
Okay.
And when you open it up, the money that's already in there was donated for a certain purpose. So the money that's in there, are they doing their due diligence about talking to the people who have previously donated that money? Hey, this is what it's gonna be for now?
Right.
Or
So
are they sending it back?
where does this state the original of what, of where it was? I didn't see
The ordinance.
The ordinance, I didn't see it at the first, where you donated the 600, where it just said conservation.
Yeah,
Where is
that's
that?
important that we look at that because, if somebody like what you just said donated it for a specific purpose, but they might have been donating it for a specific purpose, but the agreement might not be for a specific purpose.
Right.
So,
The original
Do
one?
we
Yeah.
have the original enactment for the conservation bank that says?
Is this the original?
Is this where they started the conservation bank?
2016.
Okay. This is
I believe so, yes.
the original funds that went into the Conservation Bank came from Duke Energy. And so it's the $618,000 when the Conservation Bank was established.
And
And
how
so we
much-
need to see what Duke, what their understanding of how that money was gonna get used.
2016.
To support initiatives. So if it's approved by the Oconee County, OCB is Oconee,
County Board? I think they mean the conservation.
is that the Conservation Bank?
Conservation Bank.
Okay.
Should
Says
any
Duke
portion-
Energy agrees to support efforts, grant initiatives. Duke Energy agrees to provide $618,000 to grantee to support conservation initiatives
Approved by
approved by the
the,
OCB board.
So how much of that have they spent? Like, what's the fund balance? Do we know?
it would be in there.
I was gonna say, I don't know off the top of my head.
And is that the
We
only
can
money
figure
that's
it
been
out.
donated, or is there been other money?
That's part of the issue, is that the Conservation Bank is not getting consistent funding. They've come to the Ag Board before, talking about needing other ways of getting money. And right now, Duke is doing a relicensing agreement for $1 million that would go to the Conservation Bank. But there is a concern now that the amendments are so broad that the money can't be necessarily sent directly into the bank, which would potentially lead it diluting into the state. And Duke is in Oconee County and does have environmental impact, so,
That is my concern, is that we don't want anything that they've given us to go back. I understand that they're trying to relicense Jocassee and Back Creek, and that's $500,000 apiece, that's $1 million. And in the 13 report, FERC said that there was an environmental impact to Oconee County. They got away with only giving us $618,000. That's a lot of money, I'm not knocking that. But what I am saying is, that's almost 10 years ago. There should be more. Like, I feel like the bank, the Conservation Bank, should be funded, public and private, but I think that is there a way to write the letter? I like what you have so far, but now we're to the point of, I understand council wants to expand the conservation efforts in Oconee County. However, the original $618,000 was given to the Oconee Conservation Bank. Can we request that you ask Duke at this time to annually fund the Oconee County or the Oconee Conservation Bank so that it can fully do the initiative they started out, and then let them put a dollar amount on what else they're trying to do in other efforts to further conservation. Now, whether that goes through the bank or through council, that's for council. I get paid no attention, but I do think that the big ask should come from Duke, and then I think the Conservation Bank, Tessa, needs to have a way to fundraise. If they're going to be, that's not the thing tonight, I understand that. But I think that needs to somehow be, you're asking a group of people to go out and get people to put their land in conservation, and they don't have enough money to back up what they're asking for. That they don't even have a tent. If I went to Charlie and said, hey, Charlie, I want you to put part of Whiten Farms in a conservation bank. He says, okay, I'm good with that, okay. There's not even, you couldn't ask him to do that, I mean, what you gonna give him, $1,000 an acre? You can't do that, that's, I guess what I'm trying to say is somehow, I think while we need to stand up for ag, stand up for conservation easements, say something about this Duke money, there needs to be a way to fund it. And to me, part of that funding needs to come from Duke Power. annually.
So
I agree.
with this licensing agreement, we'll provide the grant so long as all terms and conditions set forth are agreed upon, accepted, and fully complied with. If any portion of this conflict with the relicensing agreement, the terms of the relicensing agreement shall prevail.
So just so that everybody knows, so the relicensing agreement, it's like 100 and something pages.
It's, how often is it? Every 9 years?
I think it depends on, I'm not sure, I know it was 13, but
I was
that
gonna
was
say the
for
last-
Oconee.
Yeah, the last one that we had, and the one that we have is 2013, as far as how,
And I think they
I would
were
have to
approved till
find that out for you.
32, I
I'm not
don't know for sure, but it was a while. So my thing is though, if it's an environmental impact, and they've been told that it's an environmental impact, to me, $618,000 is a drop in the bucket to the actual issue we would have on hand here environmentally if something was wrong. I pray to God it never does. But, and I'm not trying to nickel and dime them to death, but I'm just saying the OCB needs support and they need funding support. And for Duke to show up every 10 years, it feels like it's just, oh, here's a piece of candy, go away. It's like a kid, like, here's a little bit, now go away. They need to be good neighbors and help fund it. And I think council's frustrated over a lot of things. They probably are getting asked, because I see the signs up and I don't know all the drama and don't care to know all the drama about no annexation. But I'm sure they're getting hammered on both ends, and so I'm sure that's where some of that's coming from. I haven't spoke to anybody on council, but I would assume from,
Well, I'd like to add what Kim is saying. Kim, you're spot on. And I'd like to be frank and add a little bit more what you're saying. Isn't Duke Energy the one responsible between 1967 and 68 of destroying 30,000 acres of farmland here in Oconee and Pickens by covering it up by water? So $600,000 is like me going and buying a candy bar at the store. Why ain't they putting $10-15 million in there for all the land that they took from this county? Good farmland, good bottom land, all through this county. And we're worried about $600,000? I mean, and we don't know if we're gonna get $25 from them 13 years from now? I mean, are we bending to their rules? Is that what we're doing here? To their stipulations?
So how tonight, because it's a big picture issue. So with the half hour that we have, what should we be highlighting as the Ag Board at the meeting tomorrow?
I think the first part of the letter is great. I think you've expressed the concerns exactly how they went. We do get asked about that all the time. And we always we go around and around and we end up back at the same place. And it's basically, I'd love to put my land in a conservation bank, but you're not giving me any money for it. So why am I going to agree to $10,000, 1,000 from you, 3,000 or 4,000 from Farm Bureau, 3,000 or 4,000 here, and end up with $10,000 an acre, and my land be put in a conservation bank? Yes, we can still farm and we can still do all this, but my neighbor just sold his for $30,000 an acre. And when I get ready to sell, I can't sell for 20 because I just sold all my rights. Not all my rights, but I gave, you know what I'm trying to say. So that, we've got to be able to give people more of a market value if we want land to go in conservation. And I think we need council to understand we need it funded. Now, whether they get it funded through Duke, through the state, they have a grant writer, through whoever, we need to figure out how to help the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board have the funding they need. So when they go to speak to these different groups, cattlemen's, whoever, they actually can follow through with what they're telling people. they can give the spiel about why the conservation easement is important and why you need to put your land in one if that's what you choose. But not at a third of what it's actually worth. If you want people to buy in, they're gonna have to buy in at market value, in my opinion.
So,
So-
is our main, what I'm hearing is, instead of worrying about amending the original ordinance for the Coney County Conservation Bank,
We
we should be worrying about
Funding the
how
bank.
we're funding the bank
I think so.
and who it's coming from.
Yes, and say, I understand you want to amend it, and we're, I guess my thing is I don't understand why they're trying to, you can amend it all day long, but if they have no way of funding it, what's the point in amending it?
Yes.
I'm not trying to be ugly about it, I'm just,
Now, these are valid
Yeah.
things you're raising here.
They spread
This is
it
good.
out over multiple things, it's not gonna be no money for anybody.
no.
Right,
but
and
there's
yeah,
not.
that's another thing. Why are we adding all these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get
amendments
that
to
that
something
may
that's
be
not
a-
even
yeah,
funded.
That may be a need too, but I think the bank needs to stay the bank, and then you need to figure out how to fund the bank to make it viable, and figure out how you wanna do this other stuff. Maybe they can be a supplement to the, I mean, maybe people have to come to the bank and ask them to do those things, but that's not what the bank is for. I mean, I
Okay,
get
so-
there's gotta be oversight, but.
Land conservation is, I think, everyone can agree,
Yes,
it's an issue in Oconee County. We're losing land at a rapid pace.
right.
That's not, I don't think anyone would argue with that.
Yeah.
Funding for the Conservation Bank has been an issue. The Conservation Bank has come and talked to us about this. So,
And I don't see turning down the $1 million from Duke, or whatever it comes out to be, 500. I don't see the council turning that down. But I think there should be, I would tell them not to turn it down, to let the bank continue, and I would like to know what the new environmental impact is in this new relicensing agreement.
so instead of spending all of these valuable meetings on these amendments, the focus should be on
Funding.
funding
Yes.
Yes.
and where the funding is coming from.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you want to do the other amendments, then let's see what the new economic, environmental impact is from Duke, and let's ask them to fund that. And then let's ask them to fund the OCCB, I want to say the wrong thing, the Conservation Bank annually. Because they cannot do their job if they have no money.
Yeah, I don't know, I served on, talking about the green stuff, I served on the watershed committee for a few years. And you mentioned, David brought up a good point, they built these lakes to make pipe. The purpose of the watershed is to keep silt out of the lakes. But every time we, they built the lakes, and there's some more that needs to be built, but we don't have the funding to even maintain spillways and everything on these watersheds that we have in the county. This could be a good time to crack the ice on this and say, hey, we need help with these too. If you're gonna, we need funding for this also.
Well,
Add it to it.
And I'm serious, I might get laughed at, I don't really care. But if Duke Power wants to get specific about how they want to give the Conservation Bank money, if they want they want to put in $10 million, we'll let them be specific about their $10 million, wouldn't we?
I learned a long time ago, don't turn money down.
I know.
And that's my thing, I don't think the council should turn the money down. I think the council should look at how to, if Amendment 7, there where it said that about the wells, if that is a true need in our county, then I think there needs to be it needs to be looked at how that can be funded.
Yeah, I mean, everybody comes with their hand out, I know that. But, I mean, if we really want to keep our rural atmosphere and our rural county the way it needs to be, then we need to try to figure out how to help these people. And the new farms, and Tessa, you know this is true, they're not gonna be the 100, 150, 200 acre farms. They're gonna be your 20 acres. They're gonna need wells. They're gonna need potable wells, and they're gonna need livestock. Now, can it be the same? Yes, you can have a backflow, you can do all that. Yes, I get that. But there needs to be funding. And just saying, we've got to figure out how we can help those smaller farms get that funding.
Ms. Chair, is there a trigger number that we're gonna look at, that we need to put in here? It
For,
was 600 and something thousand in 2016.
do
need
we
to-
want to
You know,
hit up Duke on the?
Well, I mean, you know, I kind of, okay, I'm gonna have to go ask for forgiveness and pray.
we'll pray.
But when the guy from Duke came down here and really threatened council,
that really irritated me.
me too, because I'm like, see, you're gonna threaten us whenever FERC has already said that there is an environmental impact. They haven't asked you for more money. I think they should ask you for more money every single year for the
Yes.
environmental impact.
Absolutely.
And it's not just, I mean, you know, we can talk about environmental impact. I would like to know what the new environmental impact study shows. Because there has to be, talking about the mission statement for, and this is a little off subject, but for tourism and all of that, you should come to the house. There's this big sign about a mile down the road that says Devil's Park State Park closed, re-entry at 2 p.m. This is at 9 o'clock in the morning when I'm on my way to get groceries. The lines are coming out. You can't even get in there. People throwing trash everywhere. It's a disaster. There are boats, you know, everything. It's a disaster. The park people have to clean it up. I mean, but what's happening to the roads is happening. It's just not a good situation. We don't have another landing. We don't have another way to get them in the lake or on, I don't even know that you could get them on the lake. There's so many people.
Built on a cliff now.
But it's not a good situation, and they should, in my opinion, their 2013 says that we should have more facilities, and I know they've helped us some with Parks and Rec, with South Cove and High Falls and some of those, but you have Kiwi, don't even try to go to Fall Creek, Kiwi Town, Stamp Creek, Fall Creek, High Falls, you just can't get into them.
See, the reason why they're helping South Cove and High Falls so much is because in 1968, they had an agreement. They had to, because they were taking, Duke Power give South Carolina Land and Timber, which was actually Duke Power, the federal government, FERC, give Duke Power 18 cents on the dollar to buy up all this land. And in the agreement, they had to keep those places forever open and maintained. 3 places, the north, middle, and the south end.
You know, when you talk about improving hiking and bike trails, greenways, boat landings, fishing piers,
To me, that is where they should.
Where?
My suggestion for that funding under this ordinance that they're changing, that needs to come from relicensing. That money needs to be a separate fund for relicensing, but the Conservation Bank needs to be funded, the one-time give for $1 million, and then there needs to be something. Because at $618,000, that's not even $100,000 a year. So they need to fund the bank annually.
I need to educate it on this a little bit. Who sits down at the table with Duke and comes up with $1 million?
Relicensing fee.
Federal, Energy Regulatory Commission.
They're the ones that says Oconee needs $1 million.
Well, it doesn't have to come to us. It can go, like with Walhalla High School.
So, like Walhalla High School, they had that issue with, my understanding is, and I wanted to find the papers before I said this out loud, but there was an issue at one time with a federal wetland. And when you disturb a federal wetland, then you can pay into a mitigation bank. And that mitigation bank does not have to be in our state. I think they paid into one out west, like Montana or somewhere. I think that this council should set precedents and say, if you have any company, I don't care if it's Duke Power, Bill Dale's, whoever comes, Mayan, if there is an issue and an economic impact and it affects Oconee County, South Carolina, then that mitigation needs to be paid to Oconee County, South Carolina. Now, I think setting up these funds to take care of some of the conservation stuff, to take care of some of the stuff that we need, the green spaces and that type of thing, maybe that can get us that mitigation payment that we need. But when there's an issue, I think it needs to come to Oconee County. We're the ones that's lost the farmland. We're the ones that if there is a disaster, we will pay the price.
Yeah.
Some of us more than others, but we will pay the price as residents.
That's right.
So, just a thought, but that's my opinion. But I don't blame
I thought when
council.
Duke was built, the reactors had a specific lifetime limit. And we're way over that, I know.
30 years,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was in the sixties, so,
30 years. So that's as long as the concrete was guaranteed.
yeah. So we're way over that.
Well, I don't know about scientific impact, but I can tell you, when it snows, there'll be, if there's 2 inches around Lake Kiowee of snow, you go 5 miles up, 10 miles up the road, there'll be 5 inches of snow. It's warmer. That's a fact. That's impacting the environment, is it not? I've heard people holler about warming up and stuff. It's warmer on that lake. It's just food for thought. I said that.
You can be on Lake Kiowee when they run that water through the reactors in the morning and they release it back in the evening, and that water's hot coming out of there.
What was the original, is it an endowment from Duke?
It was, they gave it under a memorandum of
Memorandum of
understanding. Is it
What is it called? Was it a donation? Was it and it was 613,000?
18?
18?
Should say on the top. Memorandum of agreement for funding to the Oconee
Funding.
Conservation Bank.
So, we're pivoting on talking about conservation. Farmers want conservation. Now, before we start amending the original ordinance of the Conservation Bank, spending all this valuable meeting time broadening the scope of the original ordinance, the Agricultural Advisory Board urges council to instead put their focus on funding the bank so that there is enough money to make conservation feasible in the first place. Members of the Conservation Bank Board have come to the Agricultural Advisory Board and expressed the need for more funding on multiple occasions. Starting to say something about, we can all agree the original funding of $618,000 from Duke in 2013 was a paltry amount.
Yes.
But
That's a nice way of saying it.
Number 4, right there, it says, in accordance with section 10.2, shall provide documentation
Grant.
to within 2 years receiving funding. Over multiple years.
Who's making the amendments?
So, they have to tell Duke how funding
there's some it's heavy reporting. So whoever gets that money has to do a lot of paperwork.
So, I get that. So, my question is, I would like to see what.
Does the auditors do this?
I'm sure somebody does.
Well, it's through county, so there's a structure. The Conservation Bank being a county entity makes that reporting process a little smoother because it is very rigorous rather than it going to a more private organization, which would still have to do that reporting process, and that would take a lot more. So my question is, we have a little bit of time left, and I want to make sure this letter needs to get to them, to Jennifer, so that it's on the backup materials for the county meeting tomorrow. Otherwise, we go up as a public comment, and there will be a lot of people doing public comment tomorrow. So we left off with conservation easement. Kids build houses in the future should they choose to. An easement is not a one-size-fits-all deal. Primary purpose of conservation easement is to keep, everyone knows this, but we're just reiterating. Now, before we start amending the original ordinance of the Conservation Bank, spending all this valuable meeting time broadening the scope of the original ordinance, the Agricultural Advisory Board urges council to instead put their focus on funding the bank so that there's enough money to make conservation feasible in the first place. Members of the Conservation Bank Board have come to the Agricultural Advisory Board and expressed the need for more funding on multiple occasions. And then I left it, I haven't written any more after. I think we can all agree that the original funding of $618,000 from Duke in 2013,
2016.
it was 2016?
December 16th, 2016.
In 2016 is, it's not enough money to do hardly anything. So then what, the end of the letter needs to be something about,
If they wish to broaden and do other conservation initiatives, the Agricultural Advisory Board fully support it, but we would respectfully request that you fund that through other means, even asking Duke to fulfill a bigger commitment to Oconee County as their environmental impact grows yearly. That's my opinion.
I don't know that I support it as an individual board member, broadening the scope, but instead of saying we could support it, I would be in favor of saying, if you wish to broaden the ordinance, spreading the funds even
No,
thinner.
they need to draft a completely different ordinance, I'm so sorry,
For
what their new stuff.
a
whatever
new
that-
thing,
Yeah.
that's just, should be separate.
I think so, personally, because I think, if they wanna put it under this is my opinion, and y'all can tell me I'm wrong. If they wanna put something new under the bank, I don't have a problem with that, but they need to leave the original funding in the bank alone. And if they wanna do other things to help other people, smaller takes, like a well can only go up to 10,000 or something, whatever it needs to be. That needs to be a separate ordinance. The bank can still handle it, they want those board members to vote on it, they still have to apply or whatever. But it needs to be separate. It doesn't need to be part of the conservation.
I wish we had the original up, because
I have it
can't-
pulled up. It's on
Okay.
the backup materials in 2012 on the Conservation Bank.
Wasn't it broad? Wasn't it not specific?
The board shall use the following conservation criteria in developing a ranking system for applicants. It's the same environmental sensitivity, percentage of property sharing, and then that's it.
It doesn't say
it's
this money
for-
will only be used
Yeah,
for an easement.
it says it does not offer any other activities that it can be used for. The only activity, it says, let's see,
Well,
Long
basically,
extra.
it wasn't
it was for
specific.
conservation easements.
It specifically said conservation easement.
If I can find.
It's at the
The
beginning.
board is authorized to award grants from OCCB fund for the purchase of land or interest in land that meet the criteria.
Meet the criteria, okay.
Apply for and receive funding for the OCCB fund for the bank from federal, state, private. So this is funding that can go into the bank from different entities. Receive charitable contributions, operate a program which includes developing a ranking system for applicants, receiving grant and participant applicants, evaluating It does not, all those activities that were listed in the new ordinance are not listed in the original. The original ordinance, the board shall use the following conservation criteria in developing a ranking system for applicants. And then that's the same as a conservation easement criteria. And then it just goes into the application process. Interest in land, it's about purchasing land for conservation. There's nothing else listed.
That goes back to the question that Kim brought up. There's not much money in there. What has brought this issue up to county council?
That's what I would really like to know, because I think there's got to be.
I haven't talked to anybody on the council, and I will. I might do it tonight.
Yeah,
Did they renew it and then decide not to take the money?
If we don't have any money to do all this stuff, why is it, what sparked this? What made this issue be brought up just all of a sudden?
to expand.
Is that part of
I-
what they wanna use the $1 million for, the 500,000 and
I don't
500,000?
think I don't think the $1 million, my understanding is that it's not necessarily available to,
I don't think the licensing is gone
Conservation
completely
Bank.
through yet.
my understanding, and I could be wrong, and I'd like to be wrong, but my understanding is that permanent conservation is not of interest to council, to some members of council. And so there's an issue there with having a conservation bank, a county conservation bank that goes towards permanent land conservation. That's not necessarily factual, but that's my understanding of the situation. And so we have not a lot of time left. So what do we want to do with our letter?
I think we need to support the current funding in the bank, but there needs to be funding. And my biggest concern is I don't want the council to make a knee-jerk reaction because the council chamber was full, because they got threatened, the whole 9 yards, which personally I think was totally wrong, and give money back, because this county and our residents are the ones that will be impacted and are being impacted. So I think our letter needs to, I think the first part of the letter's great. I think reminding them of what the vision, or however you worded that doesn't matter that much. But I think, we've been asked to advise them on ag, and we've been asked multiple times about funding. Even when Farm Bureau came up with their bank, it was almost like, yay, now there can be a partnership between our bank and that bank to get some more land in easements. And now that bank's been here a year, and it's like, our bank's gone. And that's why they don't need to let our bank be gone.
That's right.
And expanding, I get why, I'm still confused. Why do they want to expand the efforts? That still got me confused. But I think there needs to be another source, even if they ask Duke for a different pot of money. But I think Duke ultimately should have been funding the bank annually.
So what is our what is our ask to county council? It needs to be something you can put in a letter. The agricultural, so this is after the Conservation Bank Board have come to Agriculture Advisory Board and expressed the need for more funding on multiple occasions. The Agricultural Advisory Board urges council
To, focus, forgive me, you have to put the words.
focus their
eloquently.
efforts
Focus efforts on, funding the
on
bank.
funding the bank rather than changing the ordinance, and if they
Well,
want
if they want it,
funding
if-
for these other things.
If they wanna add amendments to it, I think our focus is farmland, correct? If they wanna build little pink houses, that's got nothing to do with us, we wanna focus on farmland. So if they wanna do their little amendments,
If they amended, I would ask them to give a funding source for the amendment.
Okay.
yeah,
That, seriously, that's where it
So-
would come from. If they choose to amend it, we would ask you to fully fund what you're amending. Don't take away from what we have and somehow allow the bank to, they've gotta be able to fundraise. I don't,
They should, I think their original ordinance says,
I know it says they can, oh, they can't.
I think it says they can. Activities,
Somehow they've got to have some help in fundraising.
well, it's a county entity, so they should have support.
You know, back in 2016, when this was first amended, brought to us, why did they even see a need to protect farmland? And start a conservation bank? Because I think it's hitting now. But we're seeing all these housing developments and everything coming up.
Whereas,
I'm not sure they can even power it, because now I'm on Blue Ridge and they're telling us to cut power back from, what, 6 to 9?
that's exactly right.
And, because it'll overload the transformers.
Yeah.
Transformers are popping everywhere. And I think this is they need to really, they looked into it then to help generate more power for what they had, but now they're getting overloaded. So, But-
Power generated on Lake Kiwi goes to Charlotte, we don't use that power. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Not to mention that we have
I didn't know Greenville pumped
water being drawn
water from
out.
Kiowee the other day.
Went into solution, not going back into the.
And all reality, as far as the wells we were talking about earlier, I don't think you'll get a well drilled for no less than $15,000 with no guarantee of water, anywhere around here.
3 years ago, it was 10,000 a hole.
So how much money would the bank need to actually help a poor family in Oconee County get funds? That would dry up. Kim has hit the nail on the head. Focus on the money. That's what we gotta worry about before we worry about any amendments.
I mean, it took them a while to get it set up. I would just hate to see us lose it.
Yeah.
And that's my big focus.
I think we need to give it back.
And I didn't like them being threatened. To me, that was,
That was not right. Especially when Duke Power, again, I say it destroyed 30,000 plus acres of farmland in 1968. They did. It's just fact. So, $600,000, really? We'll talk if there was 16 million you put in the bank to make up for the land that you did destroy.
if county council chooses to amend the original ordinance broadening the scope of conservation, the Agricultural Advisory Board recommends that council also have a written strategy for funding these other conservation efforts and maintain the other funds for permanent land conservation.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You have done a fine job.
The original funds, because also what about the future Duke funds?
I think the future Duke funds need to go for conservation, because it's an environmental impact. I mean, we can't tell council.
So should we explicitly say and maintain a written agreement with Duke that other funds, that their funds will go directly to
Fund the conservation bank.
land conserva- or permanent conservation?
I will say this, one council cannot bind another council, so, we may be barking up the wrong tree, but I do think we need to express they need to fully fund the conservation bank to, ensure that farmland in Oconee County remains farmland,
And so,
however you wanna word it. I mean, I don't wanna get too deep in the weeds, I just want them to leave what we've got, not give money back, and to be able to ask for,
and maintain
If the money
the,
was given back, where's it going?
Duke has to allocate it to something, but if
a
it doesn't
mitigation
come.
bank or something, just like what happened over there. And to me, if it ends up in Charleston and wetlands, or if it ends up in wherever, it's not benefiting us in
It could
Oconee
go to
County.
Santee or anywhere.
It could go anywhere. And to me, the residents of Oconee County, we're charged with protecting the farms and the farmers. And I feel the residents of Oconee County, the small guys that are trying to do the raised beds and all of that, that's what we're here for. So I will fight tooth and nail to keep the money in Oconee County.
Well, the county council needs to take care of its county residents, wouldn't you think?
I think Duke Power should.
I
I
think,
think the county council should, keeping this money in the county.
dangling the carrot out.
Is
here-
anybody in here on Duke Power?
Nope.
Everybody in here Blue Ridge? I wonder if Duke Power has peak hours like Blue Ridge?
I don't know,
No clue.
I'm not familiar,
Cause if it weren't for these housing developments going in, we wouldn't have a problem on our grid.
She does.
right?
They have peak hours? Well, we wouldn't have a problem on our grid if it wasn't for all the
All
housing
the
developments going in.
development,
Exactly.
Another
Right.
economic impact.
almost
Well,
like it's all
Here's
connected.
the other thing too, everybody's complaining about what's happening on 123 next to Walmart, the pecan orchard, that it's now gone, that it's gonna be a shopping center and residential, high density.
Yeah.
Here's the bottom line, if our conservation bank would have been fully funded, I'm not saying that it would have happened, but there could have been the possibility that could have went into a conservation easement, and you would have still had the pecan orchard on 123 instead of what you have. But at $618,000, you wasn't putting that one in the conservation bank.
No,
Nope.
it would've bought some of the concrete a little bit on the front.
I mean, I can't blame those folks.
They set their great-grandkids up.
Well, it was given to a entity. It wasn't given to a person. It was given to some home,
Children's
children's home, yeah.
That children's home will not have to fundraise.
No, they won't. That's right.
And I'm glad it's going for.
Yeah, at least it's doing some good,
Yes,
absolutely.
I'm not knocking that at all. I'm just saying though, they may have took a conservation easement and retained the land. You never know. But we didn't have it to offer. Our bank didn't have that to offer. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So, if county council chooses to amend the original ordinance broadening the scope of conservation, The Agricultural Advisory Board recommends that council also have a written concrete strategy for funding these other conservation efforts and maintain the contract with Duke Energy for past and future funding through them, it's a mess, to go directly toward conservation easements.
I don't think it's necessarily a contract, I think it's, I would say the agreement, the relicensing agreement, because basically Duke was told they had to provide money. This one wasn't, I don't think, out of the goodness of their heart.
I guess by contract, I mean like the original agreement that was made for that money.
That's fine.
But the 618,000 is not set in stone. It could be a different amount 13 years from now. Or it could be no amount 13 years from now, when it does their relicensing again.
That's why I would like to see what the new, when is the relicensing going through now? Do y'all know?
I would have to ask.
I believe so.
I would like to know when the new relicensing is happening. I know they're going through it now, but I would like to know, I would like to see what the environmental impact is in the new agreement.
Is it running on 5 years? 6 years?
We have no clue.
So basically, the Conservation Bank over the years, and I apologize, I have not kept up with it probably like I should, but it just didn't affect me personally over the years, but, it's been funded by companies and possibly some wealthy donors, possibly, over the years. Am I correct?
About 95% of it was that original $618,000 endowment.
Really?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they have really
They
got-
don't, there has been very little support. I mean, the board, members of the board, have come in and out, and there has been private donations, but you need a real chunk of money to come
Right.
in. And I don't know that there has been a lot of support on a county level to get that funding. And so we're asking county to put their focus on
Fun.
the funding, not the scope of the bank right at this moment.
That's what we don't, I don't think there's much left.
There was 300 something thousand left, or 280. It was a little over 200 at least, that they were discussing. It couldn't stay in the bank necessarily if the ordinance was
expanded.
changed. So they were working out with the lawyer, do they need to send the money back? So there is money, there's a few $100,000 in the bank right now, but it's uncertain if it can stay in the bank, should the ordinance.
So
Be
they can
amended.
relicense it.
I would like to say we encourage you to not return any funds and to find a duplicate in the fund. You don't have to say
Do
that.
we want to say anything about, my last question, we'll try to wrap up soon. I want to have this, while we're all here, make sure that we're all in agreement about how we want this to finish. Do we want to say anything about Duke's responsibility as a company that affects the environment of Oconee to fund this?
I sure wish we would, but that's just me over here by myself saying that. I don't know if I'm getting beyond the scope of what we're doing here tonight, but it would be nice, I said earlier, who sits down with Duke and comes up with these agreements? Why don't we have an Oconee County representative sit down with Duke, say, we seriously need money, we need $300,000 every year from you.
Right.
Just throwing just a general number out.
Right.
I mean, there,
You changed our county. Duke Power, you changed our county. You took land away from us. We think it'd be an honorable thing for you to give back what we lost. Because, like I said, $600,000 is like me buying a stick of chewing gum to Duke Power. They could do that. It's not asking too much of them. I'm sorry, y'all, I just get a little passionate about these things.
No, you're fine. No, I agree. I don't have a problem, I mean, not trying to overstep or get out of our lane here with it, but the bottom line comes down to, several things for me. I went back and listened to the county council meeting again with the gentleman from Duke. And I felt that was a little, that concerned me. That a
Did me
big
too.
company would have someone to address a government entity in the manner that they were
Yeah.
addressed in.
They were almost talking down to them, would you say?
And then to know that, you know, Burke has said, basically, I don't think the 618,000 was just, oh, we're gonna do this because we wanna be good neighbors. No, the 618,000 was because you were told that you were impacting environmentally the residents of Oconee County. And now we are 13 years later, well, 9 years since you gave that, and there has not been any more deposits into our conservation bank. You know, I would like to know what the new study shows, and I know it's on, Joe Cassie and Bad Creek, but let's face facts, those were built for a purpose too.
Right.
Those were built, you know, if we need to open the floodgates.
We would like for Oconee representatives to sit down with Duke Energy representatives and come up with a yearly plan to help fund this conservation bank. All they could do is say no, right? We could ask, they could say no.
I think that the council needs to have a representative at the table annually. There
Yes.
needs to be.
I think too, I mentioned a while ago, you know, the housing developments and everything that's coming in this county. What's the stopping? I'd like somebody to explain to me, what's the stopping point?
There again,
When-
that's an impact.
What is your cutoff? How much power can you provide? And then when you do provide it, why is Charlie gonna have to double his power bill to pay for that housing development's power that you putting in those houses? I don't agree with that, y'all. I got a problem with it. And mine has went up a lot from Blue Ridge. I know everybody sitting here has. But I'd like to know what are they trying to do? What is their cutoff?
Are you gonna include the last paragraph on your original? About the proposed
Why do you
amendments?
ask?
I think it's good. I think
You
it's
like
good.
it? That, so kind of rewording that as the last paragraph to be more about focusing on funding. Cause I like it too, but I think the agreement here is that instead of us picking apart the amendments that they're proposing, we instead pivot on why is this not getting funded?
There you go. We need money.
Because there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be saying this, that we would have been saying anyway. So they're hearing it already. And our focus as the Ag Board is conserving agriculture, so our stance should be, what are we doing to conserve agriculture? And the funding is the biggest, probably the biggest, one of the biggest issues right now. The Conservation Bank has been very,
I mean, I feel sorry for the Conservation Bank, trying to get people to put their land in conservation easements, and they don't have funding.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, but for some reason, I think they were told they couldn't ask Duke for more, and I'm thinking Duke needs to pay up.
Yeah.
You know, they need to contribute annually.
They do.
I will sit over here and sit on my hands and be quiet, because there's several things, I think, environmentally, that we deal with as residents of Oconee County every single day that need to be looked at. And I'm not saying that we need to go with our handout. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there needs to be a plan in place to provide and to preserve agriculture so we can be self-sustaining, and through easements, through whatever, and I think there needs to be a plan in place for our emergency preparedness. I think that they need to come to the table and say, okay, this is this, but that's my opinion. It has nothing to do with this. Our focus is to preserve agriculture, and I think we need to pivot on funding, and they need to keep what we got and get more.
So how it looks now is we're jumping from this, an easement is not a one-size-fits-all deal. So we have that as the original, it's been the original letter up to, and I did confirm with the Conservation Bank original ordinance, maybe it's changed since then, but the original ordinance did say the money is for land conservation.
Right.
So then it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. The primary purpose of conservation easement is to keep commercial developers from using ecologically significant land to make a quick buck. Now, before we start amending the original ordinance of the Conservation Bank, spending all this valuable meeting time broadening the scope of the original ordinance, the Agricultural Advisory Board urges council to instead put their focus on funding the bank so that there is enough money to make conservation feasible in the first place. Members of the Conservation Bank Board have come to the Agricultural Advisory Board and expressed the need for more funding on multiple occasions. If County Council should choose to amend the original ordinance broadening the scope of conservation, the Agricultural Advisory Board recommends that Council also have a written, concrete strategy for funding these other conservation efforts, while upholding the original agreement with Duke Energy for past and future funding to go directly toward conservation easements. The fact is, Duke Energy is in our county, impacting our environment and local ecology. The Agricultural Advisory Board would like to see a more concerted effort from the county to get as much funding as possible from Duke in order to offset their environmental impact and preserve our valuable farmland for future generations.
Sounds good.
Can we take out 2 words?
Sure.
Make a quick buck. I don't wanna make a hard buck. I wanna make a quick buck.
You do want to make a quick buck?
Yeah, yeah.
You going to develop all our farmland?
I mean, no, my business, my cutting grass, I don't wanna work hard. I wanna make that quick buck sounds a little spicy to me.
So too spicy.
Yeah.
So that's
don't-
one
who
of the
wants to make
things
a hard
I
buck?
wanted to make sure that we all agreed on is how spicy we're gonna be. So for an easement is not a one-size-fits-all deal. The primary purpose of a conservation easement is to keep commercial developers from using ecologically significant land.
To profit, or just say something, I mean,
You don't have to say quick buck, just say to profit, it environmentally impacts our land and we lose farmland, so I don't know how you could word that,
I'd mention the economic impact of losing our farmland in Oconee County.
Yeah. you could
Using
change that.
ecologically significant land, that could otherwise be supporting our rural farmland economy.
Yeah.
when you're down there grinding sausage, you don't want your money to come hard, do you?
It does.
Or just farmland economy. Our farmland economy, farmland.
Our farm economy, however you want to word it.
Ecologically significant land that could otherwise be in use, supporting our farm,
Our agricultural.
our agricultural economy.
There it goes.
That sounds good.
Okay. Do you want me to read it again, or how do y'all feel about it?
I like it.
If you wanna read it through one more time, and then we'll ask for a motion.
Okay. I will read it. Did we all get the beginning? Or do you want me to start from the beginning?
It doesn't matter to me.
You said it was pretty much the same all the way down to an easement is not one size.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now it says, an easement is not a one-size-fits-all deal. The primary purpose of a conservation easement is to keep commercial developers from using ecologically significant land that could otherwise be in use supporting our agricultural economy. Now, before we start amending the original ordinance of the Conservation Bank, spending all this valuable meeting time broadening the scope of the original ordinance, the Agricultural Advisory Board urges council to instead put their focus on funding the bank so that there is enough money to make conservation feasible in the first place. Members of the Conservation Bank Board have come to the Agricultural Advisory Board and expressed the need for more funding on multiple occasions. If County Council should choose to amend the original ordinance broadening the scope of conservation, the Agricultural Advisory Board recommends that Council also have a written, concrete strategy for funding these other conservation efforts, while upholding the original agreement with Duke Energy for past and future funding to go directly toward conservation easements. The fact is, Duke Energy is in our county, impacting our environment and local ecology. The Agricultural Advisory Board would like to see a more concerted effort from the county to get as much funding as possible from Duke in order to offset their environmental impact and preserve our valuable farmland for future generations. We could stop there.
I'd like to add something too, where you just said Duke and other entities. Maybe other people want to contribute to this.
You could do that to soften the blow a little bit from
Yeah.
Duke and other
Other
entities.
entities
And you could say that impact
from
our
Duke
county.
and other entities
That
That-
environmentally impact our county.
that have environmental impact on our county.
To Oconee County and our residents, or however you want to word it.
The Agricultural Advisory Board would like to see a more concerted effort from the county to get as much from the county, from county council? Which one? A more concerted effort from the county?
Right.
But read the whole context so I can get it.
The Agricultural Advisory Board would like to see a more concerted effort from blank to get as much funding as possible.
I would say the county, because
Okay.
it's not just, the county council is part-time.
Right.
They need, but they can direct people under them to try to find more funding.
Okay. From the county to get as much funding as possible from Duke and other entities that have an environmental impact on our county in order to offset. Okay, there's too much environmental impact in there. So what I had was, I think we can leave out that have environmental impact on our county, because I say, to get as much funding as possible from Duke and other entities in order to offset their environmental impact on our county and preserve our valuable farmland for future generations.
Sounds good.
And then there's a little thing about the mission statement. Do we want to keep that or leave it off at valuable farmland for future generations?
How long is it? Is it under the 4 minutes?
I don't know. I can take it off. I mean, that's just fluff. Do we want to leave it says, y'all have that. It says,
For how much time we got?
the mission statement on the county's webpage says, it is the mission of Oconee County to provide our current and future citizens and visitors quality services while protecting our community's heritage, environment, and natural resources. The vision statement includes the wording guided by rural traditions and shaped by natural beauty. We need to live up to our promises. Do you think it's stronger with or without that last?
It don't hurt.
I think they know what it is, it's just, you said how spicy do you, and that's.
That sounds, to me, that sounds like it would take away from
Yeah, I
the-
don't wanna take away from what we're asking, and
Yeah.
we're not trying to tell them how to do, we just want them to do what's best. In our view, as advisory from the ag point to preserve farming.
Okay, do we want to have a motion to approve the letter with edits?
Cause we've already approved the letter, so we need to.
We approved that we would write the letter. I guess we didn't approve the letter, so do we have a motion? Because what's on the backup materials is not what we're approving.
Right.
So
We need
this
a
is with
motion to
edits.
approve what has been amended in this meeting to be presented to council tomorrow night.
It would be because we have not approved the letter in backup. There has been no approval yet.
Just, for clarification, so is anybody wanting to take this and read it in front of council?
The plan was it would have more impact if I went and read it out loud.
Okay, all right, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure, because otherwise it would just be included in the backup. So this way, if you are going to go and read it, I won't send it to, Jennifer for it to be provided in the backup.
But she will go in the list of sign-up, because she's not on the.
Yes. So
Not
when you
public
get-
comment?
Yes, you will be in public comment.
Okay,
It will be public
Yeah.
comment, but it will be for that specific agenda item, yes.
okay. And will I need to show up and sign up on the public
Yes.
comment? Okay.
Yes.
So getting there extremely early. There's no way to guarantee that we will be able to speak to council if we aren't.
Can we send it and then she still go? Or no? So they each have a copy of it in the backup?
So typically, if you want each of them to have a copy of it, you can give a copy of it to Jennifer and ask that it be put in the backup. Otherwise, it would just be like any other public comment that would come before them speak, and then, because unless somebody asks for it to be in the backup, it typically is not, because it's on the record via video.
So then the question is, do we want it just read, or do we want it on the record in backup?
Does that, I don't know if I'm making sense. So if you come and you read it in person, it typically is
Typically don't
not
go in
in
backup.
the backup prior to the meeting. If it gets emailed in, like an emailed in comment, that gets put in the backup. But it's not, it's not a guarantee that it will be read aloud.
So can we send it in for the backup materials and then also I just show up and read it?
I would have to ask Jennifer.
But if she reads it, it's on the record anyway.
Correct.
But the issue, I think, is gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of people
Right. so
tomorrow.
could be
And
left over,
we may
yeah.
not, like, I would need to show up
So I would say.
early enough.
If the concern is, even if it is in the backup, if it, is overlooked, or if it's not verbally read, so everybody in the room,
Yeah,
and I think that's maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of the idea, I think it would be, going and speaking so everybody can hear you would be, I think, kind of what y'all are trying to get across, if that makes sense. I'm not
Can
trying
she
to,
hand out copies when she comes up to the podium? Can she hand out copies to each one?
we wanted
Maybe
to
to
make
Jennifer.
sure that it was publicly understood that the Agricultural Advisory Board has a stance on the issue, and that we are pro land conservation, and we want them to focus on funding. But if they only have it as backup material, it's possible that it would be, you would have to look to find that the Agriculture Advisory Board put that in there.
Would the letter be on the screen?
If it were in the backup, I can't guarantee that. It would
There's
be in the-
basically no guarantee that it'll be read or seen by anyone other than council. And there's no guarantee that they're all gonna read it.
So, let me see if she can give me an answer.
Okay.
So I don't wanna.
So you've got to be here early to get signed up to
Sign
get on
up for
the
public
agenda.
comment, yeah, because it's
that's
4
good.
minutes
'Cause we only take
and
so many.
they only take 50 minutes worth of public comment, and that's not very many people.
So Tessa, usually it is read first and then added to the backup material later, so kind of what we were said originally is it would need to be read first and then asked to be put in the backup material versus it being already in the backup material and then you coming as well.
And me reading it has to be through public comment. There's no other way to guarantee.
Yeah, because the agenda is already set,
Right.
so there's no way to add an additional
So next time, we just have to be a little bit more ahead of the game.
Yes. Which
Yes.
is, I mean, it's, I
So we
think
need
for
to
the
go ahead and
purpose
approve.
of,
We need to go ahead and approve it.
So we need a motion to approve the letter with amendments, or with edits. Do we have a motion? Mr. Whiten? Do we have a second?
So,
Mr. McMahon, second. We have a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
unanimous?
So I will be going to the meeting tomorrow, signing up for public comment, reading it, and then asking that it be put in backup material. Do I need to ask that it be put into backup material? What, after I make my comment? Okay. And so I'm gonna type that in there. And I request, and the county and
then
ag
you'll need
board
to
would
have
like to
five.
see this.
You'll need to have 6 copies.
Oh, I give it out to them, and do I need to physically give them?
So you can have them and ask that they be, they will kind of give you an answer, on whether yes or no to that. And I would, so it's the Agriculture Advisory Board as a whole. Otherwise it sounds like it's coming directly from you.
Right,
and
so
only
the
you.
agricultural,
You see what I'm saying?
so the agricultural advisory board requests that this be placed, that this letter be included in the backup materials.
We just don't want the mix-up of, yes, you are coming to read it, but you are speaking on behalf of, this was
Yes.
unanimously.
I will make a,
Unanimously.
Thank you.
I will make a point of that at the beginning of this speaking, that I'm here on behalf of the agricultural advisory board as well. So before I read the letter, I'll say who I am. I'm with the agricultural advisory board. And should I say that we,
What I have done in the past is I just tell them my name and that I'm here on behalf of the Agriculture Advisory Board. And I have been asked to read this letter that we have drafted together
That we have
in support of the Oconee County Conservation Bank. And then read the letter and then ask them if you can give them the copy.
okay.
And if they're watching our meeting, they already know what it says.
Oh, they know. Okay. All right, so we had that vote, and I think since we really just wanted to get that ironed out, unless there's anything pressing from any district reporting, I need a motion to adjourn.
Could we have new business though?
New business? Is it a district report, or is it something that needs to be added to the agenda for?
No, I thought we had it. We don't have any new business this time?
There's nothing aside from if you have something to report.
No, I'll just do it next time. I want to get back to the business of trying to save farmland besides the OCC Bank.
Well, this is a pretty potent
Yeah.
thing right now, so this is definitely part of that.
Well, we're not gonna save it with $618,000, but I've got a motion that I'll bring up next month, but a motion, an idea to help farmers here in Oconee County, and I think it will work, but I just need a motion to get an attorney in here, Mr. Root, to see if I'm on the right track.
Okay.
But if we can't talk about it now, I'll worry about it next month.
You can also send that, just have Elise add that to the agenda so we make sure we prioritize it at the next meeting too.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Ms. Alexander made a motion. Mr. Whiten seconded. We are all in favor of adjourning the meeting at 7:36. Say aye. Aye.